Hey folks, John Tyson here. As you know, earlier this year, we gathered here in New York City for our annual Altars Conference. And what we've heard over the last few days, the stories of what God's done has been incredible. We had leaders preach word-shaping, hunger-inducing, scripture-infused sermons. And we want to be able to make these sermons as widely available to as many people as possible so that they'll be a blessing to you and your church. Alongside that, we recorded some deeper conversations with the people who taught and some other key voices around the themes of prayer and revival, going deeper into their stories. And these conversations are going to be available through the Awaken Network, and you can find out more at awakennetwork.com. And we're excited to announce tickets for Altars 2027 are available now. We'll be back here in New York. Last year they sold out quickly, so if you want to be with us, get your tickets today. I hope these talks and gathering together will be a blessing to you and your church. See you at Altars.
All right, what's up, everybody? I am here with three incredible friends. My name is Keithan Schwan. I'm the youth and college pastor at Church of the City, New York, and I help run the Lamphere School, which is the Gen Z cohort for Awaken Network. And here with three incredible friends that are here for Altars Conference. So let's go around the room, introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, a little bit about your context. Start with you, Matthew.
Yeah. So I'm Matthew McNeil. I'm the youth pastor for Martyr's Memorial Church in the Hebrides in Scotland. And yeah, it's a joy to be here.
Amazing.
Yeah, hey guys, I'm Sam Cooper from the UK. I have the privilege of leading a student movement called Revive Europe, hungry for revival in our continent.
I'm Luke Lefevre. I live in Nashville with my fam and just passionate about seeing the Lord move in our generation. Way less cool of an accent than either of these guys.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, it's really rough. Everything you say just sounds way better.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, I am curious. So he mentions accents. Okay, so you guys are not from the same place.
No.
How did you guys all meet and become friends? Let's start there.
That's a good question. I mean, part of the testimony to that actually is Altars. So probably a year and a half ago, it was Luke that came to the Revival Conference. So we met there in the Hebrides. And I think even at that time, like we made an initial connection and we kind of kept in touch a little bit after that. But it was just one of those where it felt there was something different about that connection.
Yeah.
So I was kind of just leaning into that. And I think we were just kind of trusting God with that. And so then last year at Altars, met Sam. And of course, Luke was here as well. And then it was actually when we were then in London in March and we're sat at the table and we're talking about just the gift and the need of spiritual friendships.
Yeah.
And then Luke comes up in conversation, my testimony of Luke, your testimony of Luke. And then we're like, wait a second, what do we have here? And then from that moment, the three of us hopped on a call and then God has just so yielded and mended the relationship since.
It's wild, isn't it? A friend said to me recently, I think our story is kind of a picture of what's happening wider.
Yes.
She said it feels like people are just finding each other in these spaces where God is moving.
Yes.
And so I think the three of us all met in spaces
Yeah,
where
that's it.
God was moving, where
Yeah.
we were hungry to be.
Yeah.
And then just resonated in our hearts of like, man, we're all kind of at a similar age and in some ways pursuing God for similar things in parallel tracks and contexts. So we've just been like, how can we encourage each other?
Yeah. So as you guys how long have you guys been doing calls together and been connected like this, committed to each other in friendship?
So on the basis of like the three of us on our
Yeah.
calls, probably since March, if not April last year. So
Okay.
coming close to about a year. And we do it kind of once every 4 to 6 weeks.
That's awesome.
Just kind of as a staple.
Yeah. Because I think what we're trying to do in this podcast too is just give people a bit of like a paradigm. So when we talk about revival and awakening, a lot of the Awaken Network podcast has been encouraging people that are believing for something, but probably feel alone in their context.
Yeah.
Like I might be the only one at my church that is passionate about prayer
Yeah.
or is reading accounts of revival and expecting that God could do more than just run a Sunday gathering, right? But I think it's really interesting that for each of you guys, one of the keys to sustaining a life of contending for revival is actually friendship.
Yeah.
Which I don't know about you, how much you're in like the stream of this, but I would have thought the key would have been like more contending, like grit your teeth, like go hard, run harder. And like there is some truth to that. But there's also like for you guys, you would have said like to sustain a hunger for God's presence and his renewal across the earth, is these relationships in the room. So we wanted to get you guys together and just kind of glean any wisdom that you guys have, and especially as young leaders too. What kind of possibility have you guys found in sustaining a life of revival and awakening through friendship?
Happy to kick us off in it. We were chatting just before this, Keith, and I feel like the role of spiritual friendship in the last 3 years has marked my life and hunger to see God move more than anything else.
Yes.
That started through meditating on Psalm 24 a lot, this generational call to ascend the mountain of God. It says, who may ascend the hill of the Lord? Those with clean hands, pure hearts. Goes on to say, such is the generation of those who seek him.
Right.
And then it's like, you look at the New Testament and there's this moment where Jesus invites his 3 closest friends up the mountain, Peter, James, and John. And then marked by that moment, it's the same 3 friends that he takes into the depths of his suffering in Gethsemane.
That's right.
Yeah.
So friendship in the heights, in the depths.
Yeah.
And then even in the mission of the church, it's like there's an undergirding of spiritual friendship that we read about in Paul's letters. There's passages that don't get preached on. And I think it hit me recently that this is not a new thing. And there are generations that have gone before us who, I remember meeting a group of leaders last year at the Lausanne Congress who've been journeying in friendship, some of them for 50 years. And it just became clear as day to be like, man, I want to be leading with passion and zeal and a heart for Jesus in my 80s. And I could see that friendship had set them up to do that well.
Gosh. Yeah. What a gift. Yeah. I love that thought about like looking at the life of Jesus, like the Son of God incarnate.
Yeah.
Chose to surround himself with intimate friends. And you see the depth, from the 3 to the 12 to the 70 to the 120, it's like, this is the way that he lived his life. But yet so many of us feel like we have to be the heroic one to hold a mantle for something. And even the Son of God didn't organize his life that way.
Yeah.
I mean, just even as you're talking, Keith, and I'm just thinking about Jesus, and man, Sam just like mic dropped on that last piece about spiritual friendship. But Jesus going, like he's asking Peter and John, like he's asking, can you come pray with me, please?
Gosh.
Like in the Garden of Gethsemane. And it's like even the Son of God, like God himself, fully God, fully man in his humanity is going, like, can I have some friends in the depths of like my suffering, like to come please pray with me? And it's like, I mean, if God needed that, that's how much more for us. Because I remember telling my wife, I was like, I feel like I need some friendships. I said it for a few kind of key things. I'm like, one is to have people that I can talk about what's going on, even just have the same kind of leadership capacity or what type of the same type of leadership responsibility is probably the better word to go. Hey, here's what I'm going through, because you have those friends in your life that you share it, they love you, and they're like, hey, like I don't really get it, but like I love you and I'll pray for you. Like you can tell in their eyes when you're talking to them, like it's not landing. They can't resonate. But they'll pray, and they believe you. It's a different thing, which is so often the case when we hop on a call, when one of us starts to talk and you see the other one just like roll their eyes like, bro, tell me about it. And it's just immediate, they know. And there's something about having friends like that you don't have to explain like the warfare you're facing to, or just the leadership struggle, or the intensity of just like the emotional battle or whatever it is that you're fighting, and they're just like, hey, I know exactly what you're talking about, like this really helped me, or let's pray, and they know exactly what to pray, or the passage that got them through the last time. And there's just something so necessary in order to sustain long-term like contending, to have those friendships that can resonate.
Something in friendship like this in my life, I've got 10 guys, pastors from around the country that have kind of covenanted to do life together. We have like an annual retreat, but we do like a monthly call together, and it's kind of really similar thing to what you guys have found, like confession of sin, keeping each other accountable, but also this like what's stirring in you. And so like I think about you, Luke, bringing like this is a dream and a vision that God has given me, and to make a statement that a lot of people would say, hey, like maybe temper your expectations a little bit, or like, what do you mean you've got a vision for America to return to God? Like it's a little extreme, but to have people that look you in the eyes and are just like, yes, and here's the dream for my nation. Here's the dream for my context. Like, what a gift.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What have you found? I mean, being up in the Hebrides is maybe one of the most remote places on the earth.
People listening are like, what's the Hebrides?
Glory land.
Yeah. But for you, what has it been like to find these connections and this friendship living in a place that is as remote as the Hebrides as well?
No, that's such a good question. Because I think even over the years, you know, for me and my sister, we really found the beauty of friendship in the context of family.
Yeah.
You know, which was so great for us in a lot of ways. But you still need those kind of covenantal friendships outside of that context. And even throughout our teenage years, it was so interesting because friendships was one of the main things that we both knew opposition in and just attack in, where, you know, certain friendships of people who you would be running with and contending with wouldn't just walk away from you, they would walk away from Jesus. And we would just know the heartache and the heartbreak of that. And I think it's just so interesting when it's just such a healthy posture to bring those needs and hurts to Jesus, because otherwise we're in a danger of reacting with loneliness as opposed to responding to a compassionate Jesus who sees our needs and wants to fill that. And yet still knowing the posture, still seek first the kingdom. And so even just recognizing that, you know, in a local context, for the level of friendship that I was praying for and hoping for, there was a part of me that almost didn't expect it. And it's not necessarily saying that there isn't as many people in the Hebrides, but I mean, realistically, there is not that many people in the Hebrides, you know? It's a small wee island. But when we're talking about this level of, you know, you're David and Jonathan's, you're people who I just want people to run with, that can correct me, that I can correct them, that we can just know more of the glory of God in that posture. And so I think when Sam was speaking about, you know, it's in the places where we were seeking the kingdom first that all these things were added.
Yeah.
It was in the place at the revival conference at Altars where the Lord just said, hey, here's some friendships. And then just recognizing and discerning, because something that I'm grateful for in the years where friendships took a little bit of a hit, you know, I think it's really important that we balance the need for friendships with the discernment for right friendships. Because there's a danger that we compensate a need and we actually let our guards down in the sake of compromising the level of what friendship should be. But the friendship needs to reflect Christ, not just our need. So in that aspect, it was recognizing, even if that's not what I need, I'm a hold on because I know the Lord sees what I need and it's going to be better. And so what I could testify to is that with Luke and Sam, some of the best friendships I have to this day, and it came when I didn't go looking for it. But when Jesus said, here's when you need it, particularly even in last year, because we were joking, like every call, they'd be like, okay, Matthew, are you still alive? Like, how are you doing this year? John was talking about last year being the year of warfare. I was like, no one aspect of that.
He still does not have his passport. Okay, this is the level of warfare for him to get here. Okay, he lost his passport, got stolen. His mom broke her arm. This is He's alive though. He's breathing.
Yeah.
Well, part of the fruit of that is the prayers and the conversation of these guys.
We need Prayer Gathering to be Matthew's practice.
It's not deep. It's so even good. Recognizing the beauty of that, you know, the desire for those kind of levels of friendship was there for a long time. But I think the value and the discernment and the recognition of the right friends came at the right time. And not just a year that it was needed, but in the years to come where I know it will be even more fruitful.
Yes, I also feel like there's a moment that we're living through right now that would necessitate you guys having each other.
Yes.
And John has spoken recently about the difference between community, and he started using the word communitas. So community being like, you know, often interest-based, preference-based community, you know, season of life, whatever. These people are just around me. I like them.
Yeah.
But communitas is the kind of connection that happens between people that are on the front lines of war.
Yes.
That you may have nothing in common with the man to your right and your left other than the mission that you're on. That creates often, like in the States, you know, you walk by diners in New York and you'll see men that have served in hats, you know, honoring of what branch of the military they were in, because they battled together, have nothing in common, but they will always have something in common. And I just feel like for the moment of history that we're living through right now, it's going to necessitate a level of communitas and connection that's beyond just preference-based and lifestyle-based, you know?
That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It feels really key in this moment, like both with what Matthew was sharing about our friendships being sacred spaces,
Yeah.
because that requires a level of commitment. I remember hearing someone say that, Jesus won't build our friendships for us, but he's promised to bless them. And so much of what we see, I think of Jesus' teaching when he says, if you're bringing your gift to the altar and there, remember your brother has something against you, go and be reconciled. And so it's like the quality of our friendships setting a condition on coming and being present before God.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
God places a high value on our friendships. And,
Yes.
and like you said, Keith, and recognizing in this moment,
Yes.
we've found such blessing in
Yeah.
friendships where we can contend with one another.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's what the Awaken Network hopes to also just help to facilitate. Is
Yeah.
just finding like who is burning across the earth.
Yeah.
And how do we build friendships together?
Yeah.
I'd be curious, just as we wrap up our time, I would love to hear from each of you. Why do you feel like it's so difficult for people to enter into this kind of friendship? Like what's at war with this happening in the generation? So something specific, and then just an invitation that you feel from the Lord to overcome whatever that block feels like it is. Because we need communities like you guys
Yeah.
multiplied and multiplied and multiplied and multiplied. But I think that there's a real enemy that doesn't want this to happen. So
Yeah.
what do you guys think is most at odds with this happening within the next generation?
I mean, I think what you just said, the enemy doesn't want it to happen. And that is the fight. Just that recognizing the value of what these kind of friendships bear fruit of. Isn't it so interesting
Yes.
that that's one of the main attacks of the enemy? So we might expect him to hit other areas that we see as more dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. He might attack this area or this gift, but it's friendships often. But that's because there's value in what that produces. And I think just the recognition where I think what we're continuing to find with our friendship is it's not just to fill a need and
Yes.
a void, is to actually give the need that you might not even realize you need. So it's not just a cause of, cheering you on, bless you. It's like, hey, see that thing that's there? Like, maybe we get rid of that. Or how are you handling this? Or how are you, you spoke about God told you this. How are you facilitating that? How are you stewarding that?
Yeah.
So we have to present ourselves to be ready for that level of friendships. And that's an aspect of, there's no room for pride in that. There's no room
it's
for, oh no, you
vulnerable.
don't know.
Super
There has to be
vulnerable.
that level of vulnerability, which again, I think is something that Jesus himself represents and something that he himself offers to us.
Yeah.
And so rather than seeking that out in such a way where it shouldn't be a surprise that there's a fight on that, but that doesn't mean it should resist the desire to pursue it.
Yeah, that's great.
Because if there's a fight, then that means there's something to be won. There's something to be encountered.
Yeah.
And I think what we're knowing is the fruit of that. It's still, I mean, for me personally, I'm sure these guys are similar. It took years to find that. But our prayer and hope is that for any listening to this podcast, you're not going to have to wait years.
Yes.
But that the testimony of this friendship is the prophecy for you that is possible. If you bring it to Jesus, he will show you the way.
Totally.
And if you're asking Jesus, what about this person? What about that person? Don't put the person above the person.
Yes.
Don't put the person above the presence. When you pursue that first, all these things will come.
That's great.
So that you'll then
Love
see
that.
why it was attacked because of the victories that will come from these.
Yeah,
friendships.
love that. How about you, Luke?
One of the things I think this is going to be super practical because I think
Please,
it's
that's
honestly
great.
that people just don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
I think is one of the biggest barriers of just like, how do I do it? And so even just to give a kind of window into what our time looks
Yeah,
like.
that'd be great. Thank
It's
you.
like we normally block out 90 minutes, 60 to 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And each of us gets 15 maybe minutes on the front end to say, basically, hey, here's our struggles and successes almost. Just like, here's what's going awesome and here's what's really hard.
Yes.
And just to be able to share that with friends that get it and then celebrate the great with you and then get the hard. And so we'll do that. And so usually what we'll do is like one person will go first. They'll say, hey, here's what's going great and here's what's really hard. And then we'll take, 10 minutes to do listening prayer for that person. We'll just ask the Lord, is there anything that you're saying for them? And so many times, like, we'll speak a word over each other that just like either unlocks something for somebody or and it just strengthens. And then the next person goes, and we'll do that for 90 minutes.
Beautiful.
And it's very simple. Like it doesn't have to be this crazy profound thing. It's just kind of those two questions: struggle, successes, and then listening prayer. And then this is very simple, very practical, but also very key, is we will schedule the next time before we get off of the call. Because with our schedules, it's pretty much impossible to try to go, hey, let's schedule this for a year out. It's not possible.
Yeah.
But we can all sit there and go, let's take 5 minutes before we get off the call. We're going to schedule the next one, block it off, and then we just do it every time. So just like a super practical, here's how you can do it.
It's helpful, yeah, because I think if it's ambiguous and it can feel like this huge hill to climb to build the depth of spiritual friendship, what's going well, what's hard, listening, prayer, and prophecy.
Totally.
Let it cook. That's amazing.
And the commitment piece that Luke mentioned at the end has felt so key. I think it's a real struggle we have in our generation. Like, we're living in a time where we've got this try before you buy posture, like subscribe, unsubscribe. But to have friendships where there is almost a covenantal commitment of like, we're going to step into this together. I think the commitment facilitates and gives us a trust to be able to be vulnerable with each other.
1000%.
Whereas sometimes I think we try to do it the other way around. We're like, man, I'll commit, once I've had a chance to test this out, share some things. But I think it's a costly invitation, and one that requires boldness. So, if there are isolated individuals listening to this, those who are leading in their context, I think one of the best things we can do is simply to think, Lord, who are the people that I could invite on a journey like this, and have the courage to convene and to see where the Lord leads in that.
Yeah, it's so good. Well, I think a gift that we've all received is being a part of the Altars Conference, which is essentially just the overflow of spiritual friendships that are asking God to do more in our time than we've ever seen, and then willing to take big risks in bringing people together like this. And so I just think about like the fruit that we're experiencing, even being on this podcast, is the fruit of spiritual friendship. Yeah. And our prayer as we go from this time is just that like multiplied bands and groups and friendships will be spread throughout the world because of this. And so, Luke, would you mind just closing us just in a prayer? I feel particularly just a prayer for the lonely and isolated. Like, am I the only one that will believe for this? Am I the only one that is contending for renewal in our time? Would you just bless us and commission us into this kind of friendship?
Yeah. Lord, I just thank you. I pray for everyone listening who feels that at a deep level of going, I feel lonely, I feel isolated. Maybe you felt I've been asking God for friends for a long time and it still hasn't been answered. Lord, I just ask that you'd encourage their hearts, and I ask that you would bring them those friendships. Lord, the people that they can commit to, that they can walk with, just what Matthew was saying about, give them just the strength and the courage to run hard after Jesus. And then just that they'll look up and they'll go, oh, there's somebody over here on my right. There's somebody over here on my left. And we're all running in the same direction at the same pace. And so, Lord, I ask that you would begin to bring those people for everyone listening. God, I just pray that there'd be pockets of friendships that have popped up that said, hey, we started doing Zoom calls after altars, and we are so strengthened. It's been such a strength and it's just something that's just helping us stay on the wall together. And so, Lord, I ask that you would just sovereignly pull those pieces into place. Sort of just, they're like, I don't even know how I met this person. I don't even know how we ended up in the same room, but we've been meeting together now for 2 years, and God has so encouraged my heart through them. So, Lord, I just bless them. I pray for your strengthening, and I pray you'd bring those friendships in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. I hope it was encouraging and equipping. If it is encouraging, jump on awakennetwork.com. If you want to be in this community, we have a membership for you. We have these Awaken Leadership One Days where we'll talk about topics like this one. Leave a review, share, all that podcast stuff. But God bless you guys. And Galatians 6:9 says, do not grow weary in doing good, for in due time you'll reap what you sow if you don't lose heart.